Another edition of Todd's Odds with our sports betting analyst, Todd Fuhrman. Todd, we'd love to talk about hockey, but we got to talk about the NFL draft that's on TSN Thursday night. We know Cam Ward's going 1 to the Tennessee Titans. The question is, where will Deion Sanders' son, Shedeur Sanders, Colorado quarterback, where will he go? Todd, will he be a top 10 quarterback, or do you see him making a Brady Quinn-like tumble down the first round?
Jay, I do not see Shedeur Sanders coming off the board inside the top 10, barring an unforeseen surprise. I know a lot of people originally in the process had him mocked as early as maybe number 3 to the Giants, and I still think the Giants could be in play, but more on that in a moment. And the New Orleans Saints appear to be the other logical landing spot. You bring in a first-year head coach in Kellen Moore. You figure he wants to put his fingerprints all over the offense. But I just don't think with the current state of the Saints roster, they're going to reach for a quarterback that they may not necessarily believe can be their face of the franchise going forward. So honestly, at this point, I think Shedeur Sanders more likely to come off the board in round 2 than I do inside the top 10.
All right, let's talk about the Steelers. And they've said, Mike Tomlin said it on this show yesterday, they're not going to let their pursuit of Aaron Rodgers affect whether or not they draft a quarterback in the first round. Okay, Jaxson Dart of Ole Miss. First of all, greatest name of a quarterback I think I've ever heard in my life. The Steelers pick at number 21. Do you think Jaxson Dart would be available to them there? And if not, where do you think Jaxson Dart will go? Because he's my new favorite player in the NFL.
So I think both guys could be available to the Steelers, Shedeur Sanders and Jaxson Dart. But honestly, Jay, I don't think the Steelers are going to take either of those two players the way this draft sets up. The Steelers made that mistake a few years ago, reached a little bit earlier than expected for a local product in the form of Kenny Pickett, and I'm not sure the Steelers want to go down that path again. Now, I'm not going to say Mason Rudolph is the answer or Aaron Rodgers by any stretch of the imagination, but I think the Steelers are going to be a little bit more judicious with their selection, whether it's going after an offensive lineman or another position of need. Now, as far as Jaxson Dart, this is a guy that I think the biggest question we have to ask is, will he be the second quarterback off the board ahead of Shedeur Sanders? And I think the same logical landing spots make sense for him as Shedeur Sanders, being the Cleveland Browns, the New York Giants, and maybe if a team wants to trade late into the first round or get one of those top picks in round 2 on Friday, that Dart could come off the board. But I just don't think this quarterback class is that great. And you talk to a lot of the NFL draft analysts that are out there, they say all 3 of these guys would have been rated 7th or worse if they were part of last year's draft class.
Wow. Okay, let's talk about running backs. We haven't seen a running back taken in the top 5 since Saquon back in 2018. We have Ashton Jeanty, over 2,600 yards this season for Boise State. Is he a top 5 pick to you?
Now, all the buzz is around the Jacksonville Jaguars, saying that he is a generational talent at the position. And when we look at our friends at FanDuel, he's moved into that odds-on favorite role. But Jacksonville has a first-year general manager, 34 years of age. Jay, you and I can probably remember what it felt like to be 34, although it's starting to get a little bit foggier as we age. And I wonder, when you come from the Les Snead Los Angeles Rams tree of being a general manager, if you place a premium on bringing a bell cow back in. I think the Jaguars are doing a phenomenal job of creating a little bit more of a smokescreen to try and see if there's a team that wants to trade up. So while I respect the odds suggesting Jeanty comes off the board at number 5, I'd be looking at other positions, but I don't think there's any chance that the Heisman Trophy runner-up out of Boise State lasts outside the top 10, whether it's the Raiders, whether it's the Bears, or somebody else. I think Jeanty is a top 10 pick, but I'm not buying all the hype that he will come off the board in the top 5.
All right. Todd, enjoy the draft on Thursday night, and we'll get back to talking hockey next week.
Can't wait, my friend.